Today on Parent Tech, my conversation is with Nichole Rouillac, who's the CEO of Level, which is an SF-based industrial design agency that worked with the Nex Playground team to design the device. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's a little cube with a camera on it. You can block the camera and you play games by jumping around and waving your arms and doing all kinds of things like that. I wrote a review and I wanted to know what was behind some of the design decisions that were made. We also get into how to think about technology in parenting, how to manage your family better with technology, and the kinds of technology that Nichole allows into our house and how her kids use it. Hope you enjoy. Nichole, thanks for being on Parent Tech.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for having me. Excited to get talking about kids tech.
I have Nichole Rouillac, the part of the industrial design studio, owner of the industrial design studio that helped design the Nex Playground, which is my recent device I've been kind of obsessed with and playing around with. You also work with Microsoft, Logitech, Tempo, many other cool companies, and you lean hard into the idea of being a mom and an industrial designer and running a studio. I'm just really excited we're going to get to talk today.
Yeah, excited to also share that story as moms and women especially have a lot of purchasing power, make a lot of decisions for things in the home. And in my field, we're kind of few and far between, especially in leadership roles. So it's kind of why I started my studio to begin with, and excited about the work that we're doing in kids and tech products, and can't wait to share.
That's amazing. I mean, it's a really good point. The purchasing power, the thought that goes into it. I felt that in the Nex Playground. Obviously, there's a team at Nex that's also working on that and did a lot of work as well. I got it out of the box, and it's this wonderful little square, this cube that just like fits right into the living room. It's very distinct from the other devices that I have that are for similar kinds of purposes. I will admit I don't own other active play systems, but I own other consoles. How do you think about this when you're doing this work? And then maybe tell us about the playground, and then we'll back up and talk a little bit about how you think about kids and tech. What decisions did you make?
I'll start off and also share that it's a really close collaboration with the team at Nex, I think, because we started working with them so many years ago. Such a pivotal point. We just have such an amazing bond. And so how it really starts is, I worked really closely with their leadership team, and they already had apps that were in the App Store that were motion-based gaming. And so they had a bit of a digital presence and brand identity already. So for us, it was kind of really pulling out of them, what their brand stood for and how we can help them translate that into a physical product for the first time. And really, I just remember their CEO and the leadership team talking about the joy of movement and how much this was a product that was meant to bring fun to families, but there was always this focus around families and getting families just in their living rooms, jumping around, and
we are doing that. We are.
Yeah.
We started doing it. The play is there. We're waving our arms up and down. It's fun. Okay,
that's great. And that's what it was all meant to be. And for us, our job was to figure out how we take fun and take that brand energy, what their brand meant to them and to their future users, and put that into a piece of hardware that's static. It's not a moving object, but how do you still translate that fun and that joy? So we did a lot of sketching, many different iterations of what this could be and how we could create that character and that icon that was really distinguishable as Nex. And I think that where we landed and what you see selling out in stores today is something that kind of reminds us a little bit of a Rubik's Cube, or also kind of reflects back to the 80s, my childhood.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of Tetris And so you can see a lot of that is like how the blocks are forming together. You could almost imagine like cubes coming down in Tetris and stacking on top, but also the nostalgia for the Rubik's Cube in the same era. But I also think about like the parents, especially like the moms like myself, that would be buying the product and kind of have that draw towards things from that era. Also, kind of, we're seeing a big movement in nostalgic design happening these days. So I think Nex is just one that really triggers those childhood memories and the fondness that we had. But also, Rubik's Cubes do move, even though Nex is static.
That's true.
It has that kind of movement and character to it. And so when we established that as our kind of design vision and the icon that we wanted to come to the world with and show what Nex was going to be in its physical manifestation, really kind of everything from there, every decision around the hardware and design really stemmed from these like primitives blocks. And, you also think of building blocks for children. So a lot of our design language is about that.
So blocks and play, and I will say all the other devices we have are hidden away, either behind the TV or in the cabinet, and this, because it has a camera, has to be out. So I don't know if this thing would have survived if it didn't look so interesting in a very good way. My kids have tried to pick it up and do all kinds of Rubik's Cube-like movements on it. And so far it's done fine, but that's great.
Yeah. I think the color is also one that like stands out for my memories.
Oh, yeah.
I love working with color, and so does Nex.
For those who haven't held it, it's like a light green and then maybe a blue and then a white. Did I get the palette right? Are there
like
others
a
in
little
there?
bit of a yellowish
There's a
and
yellow.
kind of aqua color, and then a light gray. But it's a lot of fun colored little blocks coming together. So it also sets itself apart from traditional like white and black boxes that usually live around the TV. So we wanted it's something to be a little bit more fun, like a sculpture that you were proud to leave out on your media console.
Yeah. Is there anything that you can share that you threw out at some point in the process and you decided, oh, we don't really want to take that direction?
There were a lot of fun shapes and form factors, and I think everything was also about creating a little bit of a character, like something that had a little personality to it. So when you look at the cube itself, the camera we see is the eye, and then the little LED that lights up has kind of its wink. Other forms were just like different versions of what a character could be and how they would have faces that were just hinting at a face, nothing that looked too scary.
Yeah. Well, it's a fine line. And you also, there's the little sort of monocle. I don't know what that's actually called. I think of it as a monocle.
We call it the monocle.
It's called the monocle. Okay, that blocks the camera. And you have to design for that too, because people certainly want that possibility that they could close up the camera when they're not playing. That's, it's not a living room surveillance device. It's a play system.
The monocle was like one of my favorite parts of the design. When we had the discussions with Nex, the mom and me like understood and knew why we needed a camera cover.
Yeah.
But the designer started in my brain was like, oh, camera covers are so atrocious. This is going to kill our design. But we came up, like, as soon as I saw that sketch of the monocle, that little magnetic cover that flips onto the camera, I was like, that's it. It nails it. It keeps the face and the character that we were creating. There were many designs that still would have had legs and could have lived, but I think the Rubik's Cube really was the right direction.
Literal legs? Are we talking about figures, idols? I'm not going to get into it. All right. Okay. So, Nichole, thanks for that sort of path. I'm a fan of the device. One of the big reasons we're talking is also because you have done a lot of thinking about ed tech and technology in kids' lives and in your kids' lives. How do you think about this with your kids and the technology you get for them that they use? Like, walk us through some of those decisions.
Yeah, I will say, position my studio as an embracer of kids and technology. I like to tell people that I'm a power user of this category. I think I've been researching and dabbling in it for years, many years ago, some of the big Fortune 500 big tech companies have hired us on to also look at education. And so I think that was when my kids were little. And so I started researching. Tell people I have the first generation Yoto and Tonie Box that I had to import from Europe that still have the European plugs because I got them before they were even released in America. So I have been thinking about and working in this category for a long time. And I think I've also been a parent with the mindset that I don't want too much screen time for my kids. I've read enough of the research, and you don't even need to read the research. You can just see how a toddler throws themselves down on the floor when you take away a television show, enough to understand that there's something really complex happening in their brain and, not wanting to damage or add to that. So I've just known from an early point in my motherhood that I wanted to be cautious and mindful. It doesn't mean my kids don't get any screen time, but I try to be really careful with what they're watching and how much they're watching.
How old are they now? They're
I have a 12-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
So
12 and 4, and you've been thinking about this for probably a decade, maybe a little more than a decade?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't remember how old my oldest was when we got the Tonies and Yoto, but it was definitely many. It feels like, it feels like almost a different child. My 12-year-old was so little then.
Yeah. Has your perspective kind of changed on this over time? Like you said, you sort of have you were always wanting to have not too much screen time, but you're clearly an embracer of technology in general. Yeah.
Things have to change as your child grows older. I will say my 12-year-old now gets more screen time than she used to because screen time is also now such a social aspect of their lives when they're going online to connect with their friends after they get home from school and want to hang out in Roblox and Minecraft and build things in virtual spaces together, that I have to be careful. I don't want her outcast from her other classmates because she's not able to socialize or discuss what they're building and what they're doing in those spaces together. So I do allow some of that, but I make sure that I'm monitoring it and that I'm going in with the mindset that she needs to be social and not just doing mindless things on the internet, and also not going into places online that she's not supposed to. We're very strong in our parental controls and how we limit that. But I would say with my 12-year-old, technology also gives her freedom. She takes the Muni home from school by herself because she has an Apple Watch, and I'm able to see where she's going, and she can call me if she has any problems. I have not yet given her a smartphone, as I see many of her classmates already having. I've read enough to know that I'm going to keep her from having a smartphone for as long as I can, even though I was one of the early designers of smartphones. I also know how bad and how damaging they can be, especially for young teenage girls. So she has the Apple Watch. It gives me enough of the communication and tracking that I need to give her the freedom to, go around the city and to walk down the street in our neighborhood and feel safe about it. But it still limits the social media and other doors that I don't want to open to her yet.
Yeah, sure. There's certainly a huge social component to all of this now. There's, I think, some speculation about whether that social component is the same sort of strength as in-person social or not, but it's also the sort of reality of how people get together. You said the parental controls were feeling you're big users of that. Did you have to do a lot of work to kind of like make them work for you, or have they worked out pretty well?
There is some tinkering. Some of the controls are a little confusing and difficult to figure out how I can limit her. And sometimes we'll tweak a setting and then she'll be upset because she can't call her friends. But we are constantly in there and making sure that we limit who she can talk to and the times of day that she can communicate with others. But still, I think having social connection is important.
Yeah.
I used to be able to pick up a landline phone and call my friends. She now has a tin can phone. So
we showed my daughter the What's Up Budweiser commercial because I don't know why we did. And she was like, it threw her off that the phones they pulled out had cords on them, and and she's 4. She's noticing this. But you did the tin can. What is the tin can? Tell us about that.
The tin can phone kind of blew up this holiday, alongside Nex is one of the more giftable items. So I heard a lot of parents are actually signing petitions at school saying that they're going to limit or not allow their teens to have a smartphone until a certain time. And so a lot of these parents that are signing petitions are just wanting their kids to have another way to communicate. It's actually looks like a landline phone, but it works over the internet and allows kids and tweens especially to be able to call their friends. So they have auto dial buttons that they can program to their best friend. For my daughter, she has her cousin on the dial, and so she's able to call certain people. It's limited to just those numbers as she can call us.
Yeah. I hear a high degree of intentionality with what you're sort of like introducing here and how you're thinking about it. And I've also heard from other parents at a certain point, sort of like giving them independence in their schedules kind of leads you to, I have to give them some kind of other device or devices. Was the watch like a recent thing that you added? And you said the tin can was like in the last year as well, right?
Yeah, just a few months ago that we got the tin can phone. I would say the watch she's had for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
So since she went to middle school, because her middle school is pretty far away, and I'm a busy working mom, and I really did it because I wanted her, like many of her classmates, to be able to take the bus home.
Sure.
And to have the freedom also, even in our neighborhood. You know, we live in the city, but in a very family-friendly, safe neighborhood. So having her be able to like walk down the street, and if we're out of milk, she'll actually go and pick up milk from the store that's a few blocks away.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun and liberating and really interesting to be a parent in this time. So, you know, I let her go down the main street in our neighborhood and I see where she goes. And she just goes to the library. Library, giving her freedom, and she's getting to do things that she likes and help me out, and then occasionally stop for an ice cream.
You know, I love that perspective of like, it's a really interesting, fascinating time. I don't remember the rest of the adjectives you used, but like to be a parent, because I do think there's a high degree of like fear and anxiety that's being given to us, like put on us. You know, you're going to ruin your kids if they use the iPad, if they watch too much of this, or if they don't watch these things. What kind of gives you that perspective? Like, what is it that makes you excited about it?
I think I'm especially excited partly because my 12-year-old is neurodivergent and dyslexic.
Okay.
So I see that as being a huge balancer of her and her classmates, where she can use a lot of adaptive technologies, whether that's voice to text, or even as was younger, getting her on audiobooks early on, because she's always been a little embarrassed by how she's slower at reading and things like that. She has accommodations in school, and her teachers have also been really understanding and flexible with that. Just in getting to use audiobooks that the school assigns with Yoto player or via her computer. But it has really allowed her to kind of keep up and not have some of the same setbacks that many years ago I think others with dyslexia might have had greater challenges. So I see the technology being a great equalizer for her. It really helps with reading to writing. In the early years, she struggled a bit with reading and writing especially, but now she's like an avid reader and absolutely loves reading. I think without the tech and also the teachers and the collaboration that we had with that, I don't know how we would have gotten her to love reading as much as she does. So I think it's been a huge influence on our life in a positive way.
That's incredible. That's a great story. I love that. Has that sort of changed how you approached it with the 4-year-old? I'm selfishly asking as a person with a 4-year-old, like, what have you learned that I should also be borrowing here?
I think I'm also good at explaining to parents the various tools, like why Yoto player is better for certain ages. Like my 12-year-old still uses the Yoto, and we buy like the Harry Potter series and things like that. So it really grows with the child. I think with the 4-year-old, like the Tonie's Box has been incredible. When I can see her and like her best friend, the two 4-year-olds playing together in their room, and they're like switching out the characters together and just having that independence where they can change their music. I mean, you couldn't have done that with a 4-year-old and a cassette tape.
No, no, you'd have magnetic tape everywhere. That's a really good point.
I think Osmo has been another one that's really been good for the reading aspect. And
I don't know
learning.
that one. What is, you said
Osmo?
Osmo?
Osmo, it's a mirror that snaps onto the top of an iPad, and so it can see the desk surface below you, and you can use it. There's a variety of different games and activities, but I think the spelling and learning letters and the reading and writing, when you have a neurodivergent child, where you're actually playing with letters in physical space and then using those to spell and to learn to write and to recognize letters, was really helpful. I love the fusion when there's physical toys that you're playing with, but also in combination with technology. And I think Osmo did a really great job in that regard.
I'll have to look at that. That sounds really interesting. And I also love that fusion because, there's some really great things about seeing things tactilely in space. You lose that with some of the efficiency of technology. And it's just, your brain just thinks differently when you move stuff physically.
As a hardware designer.
Oh yeah, you should probably confirm that.
I love physical things.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. When I would try to get my daughter to spell and read, I think she didn't always so much love the exercises or having to write things. But when you're just moving letters in front of you, it's just made it so much more fun and interactive. And she actually, again, enjoyed learning to read and learning her letters at that point. And I think that's what we're trying to do with all these technologies, is find new ways to get kids excited about learning and excited about creating and interacting. So when you can mix technology and education and also that physicality in some way, I think that really helps. I mean, it's also with starting the conversation with Nex, it's not the same because they're not hardware tools that they're playing with, but the fact that they're actually having to move and be physical is a different way of interacting with technology, where you're not just sitting and looking and getting lost staring at a screen.
Yeah. I mean, let's spend a minute on that. I think for many of us, you're trying to help your kid get a jump. You're trying to potentially support them in a place where they need a little more support. What do you think that parents should sort of be looking for like from an education perspective with technology products?
Yeah. I mean, I would say if they're just zoning out and don't seem to actually be learning or taking in information, especially if they're just like looking at the screen and not even hearing anything that you say.
Yeah.
I think they're maybe not in the interactive zone that you're looking for. But when I do see products that are doing things well, I feel like I can be engaged with them, whether that's with Osmo and helping my daughter to look for the right letters and flip the letters over, flip the little game pieces over. When it's a Tonie's Box, I'm like playing with my daughter and we're looking for the character that she wants to listen to and discussing them together. So I think that the tools that can help you actually create more communication and more dialogue, and you don't just like sit your child at the screen and just let them go, but I mean, you can give them some more independent time so you can get the dishes washed or dinner cooked, but also that you can go back and you can interact and have that kind of communication and kind of create more parental interactions.
Yeah, I love that point. It's sort of multiplicative instead of kind of like replacement. And I think we all occasionally, sometimes you're on a plane. Well, maybe you don't do this. When I'm on a plane, sometimes this is just, screens just happen. When dinner has to get made or there's some deadline to meet, sometimes all kinds of things happen. But I love that point of setting yourself up for multiplicative discussions and augmenting.
Yeah. I'm a busy working mom with 2 kids and a dog, so you don't have to tell me about
I know, but
having to use a tool to keep them busy, but then I can step in and play a game with
I
them.
didn't want to project it onto you. Like I was gonna take that on, and then you could, yeah. But I do think that even that exchange, right? Like it's almost like a value judgment of like, what are we spending time on? What technology we're introducing? And sometimes you just do it, and it's raining or somebody's sick or something needs to happen. And I don't get that sense from you, but I do think that there's a large degree of discussion there about what this might do. And I love the idea of adding devices that will create better versions of those moments.
Yeah. And independence. I like that some of the new tools are giving kids independence.
Tell me about that. And the reason I ask that is it's one of my things that I said I wanted to work on as a parent, as a dad. It's sometimes hard. Kid's 4, so it's a little different. But like, tell me about the independence. Is it just the watch? Are there other things you think about there?
I think it's also like I mentioned with the 4-year-olds, watching them be able to change what's playing on the Tonie Box all on their own. Or like seeing my now 12-year-old grow up with the Yoto player, and that she doesn't have to ask me to change the music or the story on my phone. We don't need my phone to be able to do any of that. She just, has books full of cards and is able to just like move on to the next thing that she wants to hear, or, put on music that she wants to dance to all on her own. So I really love that and appreciate that as a working mom, partly because I don't like to take out my phone that much.
Yeah. Once you pull out the phone, all of a sudden there's a Slack notification or there's a different kind of thing to deal with. Or, yeah, totally agree. The minute it comes out, you don't know what's going to happen next. You might have to deal with something.
And also for the kids, as soon as they see it out, they're like, that glowing thing. I want to see that glowing thing that's in mom's hand.
Yeah.
From a very young age, they just get drawn to it. And so that's why, beyond the fact that I get distracted by work emails and all the other stuff happening, I think it's also just not a good sign for the kids.
Yeah.
I keep it away as much as I can.
I want to talk to you about other things you're excited to design or work on. I have to ask this question before we get too far. I'd love to know, what do your kids sort of play, like what are their key things that they're doing? And then I have to ask you about the Nex Playground, because my daughter wants to know what your daughter's and son's favorite games are. So like what do your kids spend time doing?
Changes week by week, but my oldest has been really into robots and coding. So she has kits to build things. I would say that's also the screen time that I do give her sometimes, is so that she can work on her coding. She's even writing her own video games right now. Won a coding competition not too long
Oh, wow.
ago.
Congratulations.
Yes, so that's one. But she also plays a lot of board games too. There's a game called Micro that she's been really into, and as well as different board games that we play. She has a lot of cards that she trades with friends, like Pokemon cards and things like that. So still cool when she can do chores and get quarters and go down the street to there's a cafe down the street that has a machine that she can get her cards from.
I was bribed as a kid to do all kinds of stuff, and I definitely bought cards. So I fully understand that dynamic.
Usually Pokemon, but
Yeah.
So sometimes trading stickers and whatnot. And my youngest, she still really loves like magnetiles, but also really into art. This weekend we were doing a lot of watercolor painting, and she just like won't stop once she gets started. She would have gone through every page in the sketchbook that we bought if I let her. Both of my kids, I think, probably because they come from 2 designers, but they both love so much to do any kind of art, whether it's drawing. Painting is really popular, but my oldest is also really into sculpture and building things. I came early on with Play-Doh and other things, but now she's been doing ceramics since she was 6. She just started another ceramics class. There's a new studio that opened down the street from us, so she's doing the wheel for the first time.
Oh, wow. It's not lost on me that all the examples you described are analog. And I think that's so interesting that they're at the front of the list. Does she use technology to learn about those things and to get better? I guess you said coding, definitely, but what about like ceramics? Is she like watching people do the wheel?
I don't know. I don't think she's done that as much, but we do go to galleries together. But I would say on the coding, she's also doing coding in Scratch. So she's building her own video games that are just virtual, but then sometimes doing a little bit of coding when it comes to like building robots and things like that. They have a lot of science and tech classes, even a robotics after school program at her school, and animation that she's really interested in that world. So there is computer elements to those things, but when it comes to the arts, not as much. I think that's where it separates. And then Pokemon is kind of a combination. There's the board game, there's the cards that she trades, there's
it's a whole universe. It is a whole deep universe. And a lot of strategy in there.
In the Pokemon Go, which has not been as popular, but there have been times where her and my husband just like jumped up from the dinner table because they had to go catch Pokemon. So.
I think I'm going to write a whole thing up on this. Pokemon Go got me back into shape. But it is in fact an extremely powerful motivator to do things.
Yes.
It's a separate discussion. All right. So the reason I asked about that is one of the things I've heard is that often there'll be like an interest that's a sort of analog interest. And then the kids will just go deep on, I'm going to watch these videos about how to do this thing well, and I'm going to learn more about it. And it becomes like it's like an augmenter, like an enhancer of the offline. And maybe that comes a little bit later, but like one of the people I talked with, her daughter got really good at nails, watching people do like essentially nail stylists. I guess that would be the right word on YouTube. Yeah. And she became like a professional level, the nail. I mean, I'm going to have to look this up. It's going to be so embarrassing. Whatever. Nail stylist.
The nail art. Yeah.
Nail art. Yeah. Yeah. And now people are paying her to do it for them because she's so good. And
that's amazing.
She's like, 18, 20, somewhere in that range. So this is a long thing, but that just seems like such an incredible use of technology to enhance something you already love and you just want to be better at.
I mean, my daughter will do that for all kinds of arts and crafts projects or whatever's piquing her interest and mind at the moment. This weekend, it was balloon animals.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Love a good giraffe.
Just, she goes through these phases.
Do you sit with her? Like, tell me about that. Like, how do you encourage that? Because that's the sort of thing as a parent you love. I mean, even balloon animals, like you just want them to be excited about things.
Oh, yeah. No, she was so excited, but she wanted to watch YouTube videos. We also found some printouts, step by step, how to create different balloon animals. And by the end of the weekend, I think we had like 30 or 40 different balloon animals scattered around the house. So that was fun. But it changes per weekend what she's into. But she also does this with cooking. She's recently started to cook a lot, which I quite love.
Yeah.
Minus the messes in the kitchen, but she's cooked dinner for us. I come home. It's usually just like eggs or something a little bit more simple these days. But sometimes it's smoothies for breakfast. But she looks up recipes online and things to inspire her cooking. She likes to bake too.
Do you sit next to her like mechanically, or does she just goes and looks these things up, and you have the controls on to feel good about that, or you've had to do a lot of tinkering, or?
She requests screen time on her iPad, so she can only get screen time when we approve it, but she'll tell me that she's wanting to look up a recipe for something. So I give her permission and can kind of see what she's doing, and then, the next 15 minutes, because I only give her 15-minute installments of screen time, and she's in the kitchen whipping up something.
Yeah.
The eggs are the easier things. As she gets into baking, that's where things get a little bit more complicated. But I think it's actually better for her to look up recipes, because it used to be I would just walk in the kitchen and she just started like mixing flour and eggs and making up her own recipes, and those were never very good. So.
Yeah. But you loved them anyway, right? Like you loved that she was doing it. Sorry.
Yeah, I love that. Not sure about the taste, but I always tried it. I tell her we have to try it and everything, so it's coming right back at me.
And then she, of course, was like, well, I don't like this very much either. Let's watch a recipe. Do you use something to manage the screen time, or is it just Apple's sort of default and then you can see her on the iPad when she's in the room?
Yeah, we just use the Apple defaults, but she has to ask for permission for anything that she uses, so I know exactly how much and what she's asking permission for.
Yeah, through the device. Okay.
And then I have to approve it on my phone.
Well, that's the reason I ask, is sort of the logistics of these things. It's real. Like, it's a thing that you have to manage, and it's great, but you're not allowing unfettered internet access, either from a time or content perspective.
Yeah, that's correct.
What are you excited to design next? Like, you worked on the playground is an extremely successful, fantastic product. What are some of the other kinds of things that you're thinking about in the future?
Yeah, well, we are working on a number of things, so we'll have some follow-up conversations this spring for some upcoming launches that we have. I would say the biggest thing, I feel uniquely positioned as a mom of a neurodivergent child who's been able to do really good, getting through school, learning how to find her strengths, but also work with some really great doctors. Had so many doctors that I've been with at UCSF, as well as some of the courses I've taken on helping parents of neurodivergent children learn how to parent them better. But I think because of that, I've learned a lot of techniques and also things that can be pain points or hard. So we're taking a lot of these learnings into the reward systems that we use and how to be better at setting up routines. And I've been also working with clients, but also other people that are just even building apps and providing feedback to in this space, how we can better build to support parents like myself. So I'm very excited, whether it's for dyslexia or other things. I feel like if we can nail this, even just for the neurodivergent children, there's so many things that will even help any parent of any type of minded child. So I'm really excited about how we can sort of use science and what I've learned from the medical community to help guide better tools for parents.
Yeah. And for anybody that's thinking about this, are there some things that you really recommend that they download or start using or look into, like anything that's been really helpful for you on your journey?
Well, I think the Yoto and Osmo are good. On the apps, would you like Endless Reader? It's been a really good one. Those are my favorite.
I don't know that one either. I feel like I'm learning quite a bit here.
Oh, that one is more for my 4-year-old. Endless is a whole kind of group of apps. There's also numbers, but it's good at helping learning alphabet initially, but then also helping with reading eventually. And I use that on my oldest when she was younger too. So I think those are good. I think if you kids are really into building, it was KiwiCo has a lot of robot and tinkering kits that are really fun for my oldest that I quite love. But also depends on what your child is into. And of course, Nex Playground.
It's been pretty good.
When you have an active child that you need to keep busy, especially on a rainy day, it will do that like nothing else, and get you exercising and burning some calories too.
It is hilarious at family gatherings too, because you get people you would not expect doing, like my parents doing the Hungry Hippos is our favorite, and they're like waving their arms around like this, and it just it disarms everybody.
Yeah, it's great. You asked earlier about my kids' favorites, and I would say, funny enough, bowling is still one of the family favorites, I think, because we can all play together. My 4-year-old being obsessed with Peppa Pig, absolutely, loves Peppa so much. Sometimes a little too much, because
they do get fixated. They get fixated on things.
At bedtime, I'm like, can we just please read something besides Peppa?
Something else.
But yeah, and my oldest has been really into the Tiny Chef game lately.
That's a good one. Maybe that's where the cooking. I was going to say the cooking thing. Like, who knows? Is it driving the interest, or is the Tiny Chef driving her interest in cooking? It's just it's so interesting how these things work out. Well, I mean, Nichole, incredible. Thanks for chatting, being on Parent Tech, sharing some of what you've learned and some of the thought process behind the playground. I'm just excited to see what you design next.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. It's been a great conversation. So happy to get to share and discuss the positive ways that technology can help us parent.
Absolutely.